Welcome to the Nations vs. Nonprofits Weekly Briefing. This is your weekly briefing number 8, How Nonprofits Impersonate Tribal Authority. Nonprofits often present themselves as cultural leaders, community representatives, or even tribal spokespeople. They use language that sounds governmental and frame their work as if they speak for an entire people. But a nonprofit is a corporation. When it impersonates tribal authority, it confuses allies, misleads institutions, and crowds out the voices of real tribal governments. Nonprofits operate under tax law. They have boards, staff, programs, and missions, but they do not have citizens. They cannot issue political authority, and they cannot represent a sovereign nation. Yet some nonprofits borrow the appearance of government by using terms like traditional leadership, representing the people, or tribal community authority. These claims rely on presentation, not structure. One of the most common impersonation tactics is using cultural programming to imply political authority. A nonprofit might run ceremonies, educational workshops, land stewardship projects, or heritage events, and frame this work as evidence of being a tribal government. But programs are not sovereignty. They do not replace enrollment, elections, or continuity. Another tactic involves creating boards that mirror governmental roles. Nonprofits sometimes label their board members as chiefs, council members, or cultural representatives. But boards are not elected by a citizen base. They are selected internally and operate according to corporate bylaws, not governmental law. Some nonprofits also imitate tribal nation functions by taking positions on land return, cultural consultation, or archaeological issues. They speak as if they have jurisdiction, even when no governmental authority has been granted. This creates confusion for cities, agencies, and allies who may not realize they are speaking with a corporation rather than a tribal nation. Impersonation becomes especially harmful when nonprofits claim to speak for ancestors or assert rights that belong only to sovereign nations. Without accountability, transparency, or documented continuity, these claims distort public understanding and undermine the authority of real tribes. Understanding how nonprofits impersonate tribal authority helps clarify why governments rely on enrollment, elections, and long-term records. These structures create legitimacy. Nonprofits cannot imitate that legitimacy, no matter how compelling their program or branding may appear. Once you recognize the difference between nonprofit authority and governmental authority, you can see through impersonation quickly. You can identify who has the right to speak for a nation and who is operating as a corporation using cultural language. Thanks for watching this week's briefing. Nations vs. Nonprofits weekly briefings drop every Monday. Tune in for next week's subject, How Lijian was constructed incorrectly.